My mother told me I was too difficult for her new family when I was 16. She handed me $200 and a garbage bag of clothes, then drove me to my aunt's house like she was dropping off donation items. 12 years later, she showed up at my office with a smile, asking if I could help out with her stepkid's college tuition, because apparently, someone told her I'd done well for myself. My name is Rachel. I'm 32, a forensic accountant in Seattle, and I spent the better part of my 20s learning how to find money people don't want found. I work for a mid-sized firm that handles everything from divorce asset discovery to corporate fraud investigations. It's meticulous work. You follow the trail, you document everything, and you wait for the right moment to present your findings. Patience isn't just a virtue in my line of work. It's the entire job description. I learned patience early. I had to. When I was 16, my mom sat me down in our living room and told me she was getting remarried. His name was Derek. He had 2 kids from a previous marriage. Twin boys, 14 at the time. She said it with the kind of forced cheerfulness people use when they're trying to convince themselves more than you. "It's going to be a fresh start for all of us," she said. I nodded. I didn't have much choice. My dad had passed away 3 years earlier. Heart attack, sudden, no warning, and it had just been the 2 of us since then. I thought maybe this was good for her. She'd been lonely. I wanted her to be happy. Derek moved in 2 months later. The twins came every other weekend at first, then full-time after their mom decided she wanted to focus on herself and moved to Arizona. That's when things started shifting. Small things first. My mom stopped asking how school was going. Dinner conversations revolved around the twins' basketball games or Derek's promotion at the telecom company. When I tried to bring up my AP exams or the college applications I was working on, the room would go quiet for a beat. Then someone would pivot back to something else. I told myself it was an adjustment period. New family dynamics take time. But then Derek started making comments, little digs, always with a smile. "Rachel's not much of a team player, is she?" When I didn't want to go to one of the twins' games on a night I had a project due. Or, "Some kids just aren't built for family life," when I asked if I could have friends over and he said the house was too chaotic already. My mom never corrected him. She'd just give me this look, apologetic but distant. Like she was watching me through glass. The twins weren't outright cruel, but they weren't kind either. They took over the basement where I used to do homework. They borrowed my laptop without asking. One of them, Ethan, I think, told his friends at school that I was Derek's charity case, and the rumor stuck for months. I kept my head down. I focused on my grades. I had a partial scholarship lined up for the University of Washington if I kept my GPA above 3. 8. That was my exit plan. Then, 3 months before graduation, Derek sat me down. My mom was there too, but she wouldn't look at me. "Rachel," he said, "your mom and I have been talking. We think it might be better if you stayed with your Aunt Linda for a while." I blinked. "What?" "Just until you graduate," my mom added quickly. It's not permanent. It's just, the house is really cramped right now, and the boys need their space, and you're going to college soon anyway, so you're kicking me out." "We're not kicking you out," Derek said, and his tone had that edge it always got when he thought someone was being unreasonable. "We're making a practical decision for everyone involved." I looked at my mom. "Are you serious right now?" She finally met my eyes, and I saw it. She'd already made up her mind. I wasn't part of everyone involved anymore. "It's just for a few months, Rachel." I didn't cry. Not then. I went upstairs, packed my things into a garbage bag because I couldn't find my old duffel, and waited by the door. My mom handed me $200 in cash. Money I later realized came from my dad's life insurance, which she'd been managing for me, and drove me across town in silence. Aunt Linda lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Ballard. She was my dad's older sister, blunt, and chronically overworked as a night shift nurse. She didn't ask many questions when I showed up. She just cleared out a corner of her living room, set up an air mattress, and told me I could stay as long as I followed her rules. No drugs, no boys, no drama. I graduated 2 months later. My mom didn't come to the ceremony. Derek sent a text. "Congrats. Proud of you." I deleted it. I went to UW on that partial scholarship, plus loans, plus 2 part-time jobs. Aunt Linda helped when she could, but I didn't ask for much. I worked in the library, then as a receptionist at an accounting firm downtown, then as a bookkeeping assistant, when one of the partners noticed I was fast with spreadsheets. That's where I learned what I was good at. Numbers don't lie. They don't sugarcoat. They don't tell you you're too difficult when you ask for the space you're entitled to. They just sit there, waiting for someone patient enough to read them. I finished my degree in 3.5 years, got my CPA certification, got hired at a forensic accounting firm that specialized in high net worth divorce cases. Turns out, people who lie about money leave trails everywhere, and I was very, very good at finding them. By the time I turned 28, I was a senior associate. By 30, I was lead forensic accountant on a case that made regional news, a tech executive who'd hidden $12 million in offshore accounts from his ex-wife. We found every cent. She got her settlement. I got a reputation. I also got a raise, then another, then a promotion. I bought a condo in Capitol Hill. I started investing. I built a life that was mine, brick by brick, number by number, with no one's help and no one's approval. I didn't talk to my mom. She called once, maybe twice in those first few years. I didn't pick up. Eventually, she stopped trying. I thought that was the end of it. Then, 6 months ago, I got a message on LinkedIn. "Hi, Rachel. It's Mom. I hope you're doing well. I'd love to catch up sometime. Let me know if you're free for coffee." I stared at it for a long time. The little heart emoji felt obscene. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, she called my office. The receptionist transferred her before I could say no. "Rachel?" Her voice was bright. Too bright. "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got through." I wasn't sure if this was the right number. "It is," I said. "What do you want?" I wanted to see how you were. It's been so long. 12 years. Right, yes, I know. And I'm sorry we lost touch. Things got so busy, and... Mom. I kept my voice even. "What do you want?" There was a pause. Then she pivoted. "I heard you're doing really well. Someone from church mentioned they saw an article about you in the Seattle Times. Something about a big case you worked on? So that's what this was. Someone had seen my name in print. Someone had mentioned it to her, and now she was calling." "I'm working," I said. "I have a meeting in 5 minutes." Of course, maybe we could meet up. I'd love to see you." I almost said no, but something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe, or the kind of cold clinical instinct I'd developed in my work. When someone reaches out after years of silence, they usually want something, and I wanted to know what. "Fine," I said. "Saturday, 1 p.m. There's a coffee shop on Broadway. I'll text you the address." "That sounds perfect. I'll see you then." I hung up before she could add another emoji to the conversation. She showed up 10 minutes late, which didn't surprise me. She looked older, grayer, softer around the edges. She was wearing a cardigan I didn't recognize and carrying a purse that looked expensive but worn, like she'd bought it years ago and held on to it. She hugged me before I could sidestep it. I stood there, stiff, until she let go. "You look amazing," she said, her eyes scanning me like she was cataloging evidence. "Really successful. I'm so proud of you." I ordered a black coffee. She ordered a latte with oat milk and 2 pumps of vanilla. We sat down by the window. "So," I said, "what is this about?" Can't a mother just want to see her daughter? I didn't answer. I just looked at her. She folded her hands around her cup. Okay, well, I'll be honest. I did want to talk to you about something. There it is. Derek and I are going through a rough patch financially, she said. The boys, Ethan and Connor, they're both in college now. Ethan's at Oregon State, Connor's at WSU. And the tuition is it's a lot. We're doing our best, but Derek's job isn't what it used to be. And we've already taken out loans and you thought I'd help. She looked up, hopeful. You're doing so well, Rachel. I just thought maybe you could contribute something, even just a little. It would mean so much to them. I took a sip of my coffee. It was scalding, but I didn't flinch. Let me get this straight, I said. You kicked me out when I was 16 because your new family needed space. You didn't come to my graduation. You didn't call when I was working 2 jobs to pay for college. You didn't check in once in 12 years. And now you want me to pay for the education of the kids you chose over me. Her face flushed. It wasn't like that. What was it like? You were going to college anyway. You had a scholarship. You didn't need us. I was 16. You were independent. You always were. The boys, they needed more support. I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. And now, they need my money. She looked down. I'm just asking. As your mother. I stood up. I didn't finish my coffee. I'll think about it, I said. Her face brightened. Really? Sure. I left. I didn't think about it. But I did start making calls. I know how to find things, financial things. And when you've spent 12 years building a career around uncovering what people try to hide, you know where to look. I started with public records, property filings, tax liens, court documents. Then I moved into the semi-public stuff, credit reports I could access through work channels, loan histories, corporate filings for Derek's employer. It took me 3 days. And what I found was interesting. Derek and my mom owned their house outright, paid off 8 years ago, no mortgage. The property was worth around $620,000 in the current market. They had 2 cars, both under 5 years old, both financed but not excessively. Derek's salary wasn't huge, but it wasn't struggling either. Comfortable mid-management range. They had credit card debt, about $40,000, but most of it was recent. Travel expenses, furniture, a timeshare in Cabo they'd bought 2 years ago. The college tuition, covered by federal loans in the twins' names and a 529 plan that had been set up years ago. They weren't drowning. They were just over-leveraged because they'd been living like they had more than they did. And the kicker? My mom had been receiving survivor benefits from my dad's Social Security. Benefits that were supposed to go toward my education until I turned 18. She'd kept receiving them after I moved out. I checked the records. She never forwarded a cent. I sat back in my chair and stared at my screen. She hadn't called because she needed help. She'd called because she thought I was an easy mark. I didn't reply to her follow-up texts. I didn't take her next call. But I did start building a file, a very detailed file. Because here's the thing about forensic accounting. You don't just find the money. You map the intent. You track the decisions. You show the pattern. And my mother had made a lot of decisions. Decisions I was going to make sure had consequences. I opened a new folder on my desktop. I labeled it Mom, Personal. And I got to work. The first thing I did was pull every financial record I could legally access. I wasn't going to do anything that would put my license at risk. I'd worked too hard for that. But there's a lot you can find without crossing any lines if you know where to look. Public records gave me the property history, tax assessments, liens, court filings. Everything was clean on the surface, but I noticed something interesting. 3 years ago, my mom and Derek had refinanced their house. They'd pulled out $150,000 in equity. That money had gone somewhere. I cross-referenced the timeline with social media. My mom's Facebook was public, because of course it was. She posted everything. Family vacations to Cancun. The twins' high school graduation party, which looked like it cost more than my entire college fund. A new deck they'd built on the back of the house. Derek's investment in a friend's startup that sold organic dog treats. The dog treat company folded after 8 months. I pulled the business filings. Derek had been listed as a co-founder and primary investor. He'd sunk $60,000 into it. I leaned back and laughed. Actually laughed. He'd taken money from a house my dad had bought, that my dad's life insurance had paid off, and blown it on a failed business venture while my mom came begging to me for tuition money. The audacity was almost impressive. I started building a timeline, a proper one, the kind I'd present in court if I had to. Dates, amounts, sources. Every decision they'd made with money that should have been managed more carefully. Then I looked into the twins. Ethan and Connor both had Instagram accounts, also public. Ethan posted gym selfies and photos from parties. Connor was more low-key, but he posted enough. Spring break trips, new gaming setup, a car, a used Jeep Wrangler, but still, not cheap. I checked the loan records. The Jeep was financed under Derek's name. Monthly payments, $480. They weren't struggling. They were just bad with money. And now they wanted me to subsidize their lifestyle. I made a note. Twins receiving financial support beyond tuition, vehicle, recreation, non-essential expenses. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mom. Hi, sweetie, just checking in. Have you had a chance to think about what we talked about? No pressure, just let me know. Love you. I stared at the message. The love you felt like a punchline. I didn't respond. Not yet. 2 weeks later, she called again. I was in my office, finishing up a report on a client's asset discovery case. I almost didn't pick up, but I decided I wanted to hear what she'd say. Rachel. She sounded relieved. I was starting to worry you were avoiding me. I've been busy. Of course. I know you work so hard. I wanted to follow up. About the boys' tuition. Have you thought about it? I let the silence stretch. Rachel? I have thought about it, I said. Oh, that's wonderful. Even if it's just a little bit, it would help so much. We're just in a really tight spot right now, and I'm not giving you money. The line went quiet. What? I said I'm not giving you money. But Rachel, these are your brothers. They're family. They're not my brothers. They're Derek's kids, and you made it very clear 12 years ago that I wasn't part of your family anymore. That's not fair. Her voice cracked. We were going through a hard time. We made mistakes. But that doesn't mean you took survivor benefits that were meant for me. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Silence. Rachel, you kept receiving Social Security survivor benefits for 2 years after you kicked me out. Money that was supposed to help with my education. You kept it. You spent it. And now you want me to pay for the kids you chose over me. That money, it was legally supposed to be used for my benefit until I turned 18. You received it until I was 17 and a half. Then you spent it on your new family. And now you're asking me to replace it. Her breathing was shaky. I didn't think I'd find out? Or didn't think I'd care? Rachel, please, I'm your mother. You stopped being my mother when you handed me a garbage bag and $200. I hung up. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was calm. I felt nothing but clarity. She didn't call back, but Derek did. I was at home, making dinner, when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I picked up anyway. Rachel. His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Your mother is upset. You said some very hurtful things. I said some very true things. She was doing her best, We both were. Raising 3 kids isn't easy. You weren't raising me. You got rid of me. That's not how it happened. That's exactly how it happened. And now you want me to bankroll the kids you actually wanted. His tone shifted, colder. You know, your mom always said you were difficult. I didn't believe her at first. I thought you were just going through a phase. But I see it now. You're bitter. You're holding on to something that happened over a decade ago. And you're punishing people who are just trying to get by. I smiled. He couldn't see it. But I smiled. Derek, I said, I know about the refinance. I know about the timeshare in Cabo. I know about the dog treat business. I know you pulled $150 €1 out of a house my father bought, and you've blown through most of it on bad decisions and lifestyle expenses. So don't call me and tell me you're just trying to get by. You're trying to get me to fix your mistakes. He didn't respond right away. And if you call me again, I added, I'll make sure the IRS knows about the side consulting work you've been doing under the table. You've been getting paid in cash for network installations, haven't you? Funny how none of that shows up on your tax returns. I heard him breathing. Stay away from me, I said, and tell my mom the same. I hung up. For a while it was quiet. No calls, no texts. I went back to work. I finished my cases. I went to the gym. I had drinks with coworkers. I lived my life. But I kept the file open. I kept adding to it, because I knew this wasn't over. People like my mom and Derek don't just walk away. They push. They guilt. They manipulate. And when that doesn't work, they escalate. I wanted to be ready when they did. 3 months later, I got a call from Aunt Linda. Rachel, she said, your mom came by. I sat up. What? She showed up at my apartment yesterday. Said she wanted to talk to me about you. What did she say? Linda sighed. She said you've been cruel to her. That you refused to help your family when they needed it. That you've changed. She tried to make it sound like you owe her something. What did you tell her? I told her she had a lot of nerve showing up at my door after what she did to you. I told her you don't owe her a damn thing. Then I told her to leave. I smiled. Thank you. She's not going to stop, Rachel. She thinks she's entitled to your success. I know. What are you going to do? I looked at the file on my screen. Hundreds of pages now. Everything documented. Every transaction. Every lie. Every decision that showed exactly who they were. I'm going to make sure she understands that I'm not the 16-year-old she threw away. A week later, my mom posted on Facebook. I didn't follow her, but a former classmate sent me a screenshot. The post was long, emotional. It talked about how hard it was to be a mother, how sometimes you make decisions you regret, how she'd reached out to her estranged daughter, hoping to rebuild their relationship, only to be met with hostility and coldness. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. Anyone who knew us would know exactly who she was talking about. The comments were full of supportive messages. You're such a strong woman. Your daughter doesn't know what she's missing. Family is everything. I read it twice. Then I closed the screenshot. I wasn't angry. I was something else, something colder. I opened my file. I started writing. I drafted an email. Not to my mom, not to Derek, to someone else. Ethan. I didn't have his email, but I had his Instagram. I sent him a DM. Hi, Ethan. This is Rachel. I know we haven't talked in a long time, but I wanted to reach out. I heard you and Connor are in college now. Congratulations. I'm sure it's a big transition. If you ever want to grab coffee or catch up, let me know. No pressure. Just thought I'd offer. I hit send. 2 days later, he responded. Hey, Rachel. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm back home for fall break next week. Want to meet up? I smiled. Sure, let's do it. We met at a diner near their house. Ethan showed up in a hoodie and jeans. looking like every other college kid. He was polite, a little awkward. He ordered pancakes. "So," he said, "this is kinda random." "I know. I just thought it'd be nice to reconnect. It's been a long time." "Yeah, I barely remember when you lived with us. I was like 14. "Right. Mom said you guys had a falling out or something. Something like that." He poured syrup on his pancakes. "She's been kind of stressed lately. Money stuff, I think. She doesn't really talk about it, but I can tell." "College is expensive," I said. "Yeah, we have loans and stuff. But she and Derek keep saying it's fine." "I don't know. I feel bad sometimes. Like, I know it's a lot." "Do you like Oregon State?" "It's good. I'm majoring in business. Not sure what I want to do yet, but yeah, it's good." We talked for an hour. Surface stuff, classes, friends, his job at a campus bookstore. I asked about Connor. He said Connor was doing fine, studying computer science, kind of a hermit. I paid for his meal. He thanked me. As we were leaving, I said, "Hey, if you ever need advice, career stuff, financial stuff, whatever, feel free to reach out. I work in accounting. I know it's not the most exciting field, but I'm happy to help if you want." He smiled. "Thanks, Rachel. That's actually really cool of you." We hugged. It was brief but genuine. I walked back to my car and sat there for a moment, staring at the diner. Ethan wasn't the enemy. Neither was Connor. They were just kids who got caught in the middle of something they didn't create. But my mom and Derek? They made choices. Calculated choices. And I was going to make sure those choices had consequences. Over the next 2 months, I met with Ethan 3 more times. I gave him advice on internships. I helped him clean up his resume. I introduced him to a contact at a firm in Portland who was hiring for summer positions. He started to trust me. And in the process, he started telling me things. Small things. Things he didn't think mattered. Like how Derek had been talking about early retirement and how they were planning to sell the house in a few years and move somewhere cheaper. Like how my mom had been talking to a financial advisor about maximizing their assets. Like how they'd been arguing about money more lately. How Derek had accused my mom of giving too much to the twins, and how my mom had said, "They're our kids. They come first." Not her kid. Our kids. I wrote everything down. Then one night, Ethan called me. He sounded upset. "Rachel, can I ask you something?" "Of course." Do you think my parents are doing okay? Like, financially?" I paused. "Why do you ask?" "I found some paperwork at home. Loan stuff. It looked like they owe a lot. And Derek keeps saying everything's fine. But I don't think it is." "What kind of loan paperwork?" "I don't know. It had a bank name on it. And a really big number." I kept my voice calm. "If you're worried, you could ask them about it." I tried. Mom just said it was adult stuff, and I shouldn't worry. But it's hard not to, you know? I get that. Do you think... would it be weird if I asked you to look at it? Like, just to tell me if it's bad? I know you work with money stuff. I closed my eyes. "Ethan, I don't think that's a good idea." "I know, never mind. Forget I asked." "Hey," I said gently, "if you're really concerned, there are resources, financial counselors, advisors. You don't have to carry this by yourself." "Yeah, okay. Thanks, Rachel." He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. He just handed me an opening, a way in, and I hadn't taken it. Because this wasn't about him. It was never about him. It was about my mother, and Derek, and the choices they'd made, and I was going to deal with them directly. I sent my mom a text. "We need to talk, in person, just the 2 of us. Let me know when you're free." She responded within minutes. "Of course. I'm so glad you're reaching out. How about this Saturday? We could do lunch?" "Fine. 1 p.m. Same coffee shop as last time. Perfect. See you then. I put my phone down. Saturday was 4 days away. I spent those 4 days preparing. I arrived 15 minutes early. I wanted to be sitting down when she walked in. I wanted to control the space, the tone, the entire interaction. That's something I learned in depositions. Whoever sets the frame controls the conversation. I ordered my coffee. Black, no sugar. I sat by the window, my leather portfolio on the table in front of me. Inside it was a printed copy of everything I'd compiled over the last 4 months. Financial records, social media screenshots, timelines, tax documents, everything. She arrived 8 minutes late. She always was late. It used to drive my dad crazy. She was dressed carefully, business casual, a navy blouse and slacks, like she was trying to look put together, respectful. She smiled when she saw me, that same bright, nervous smile from last time. Rachel, thank you so much for reaching out. I've been hoping we could talk again. I didn't stand up. I didn't smile back. I just gestured to the chair across from me. She sat down, folding her hands on the table. I'm really glad you wanted to meet. I know things have been tense between us, and I just want you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I think maybe we both said things we didn't mean, and I meant everything I said. Her smile faltered. I asked you here because I want to make something very clear to you, I continued. I want you to understand exactly where we stand, and I want to give you one chance to walk away from this with some dignity. She blinked. I don't understand. I opened my portfolio. I pulled out the first document, a printed summary I'd prepared. I slid it across the table. This is a financial overview of your household for the last 5 years. Property records, loan documents, credit accounts, tax filings. All publicly available information, by the way. Nothing illegal about any of this. She stared at the paper. Her face went pale. You and Derek own your home outright. No mortgage. It's worth over $600, $600 in the current market. You refinanced 3 years ago and pulled out $150,000 in equity. That money went toward a failed business investment, a timeshare you can't afford to maintain, home renovations, and lifestyle expenses. You currently carry $40,000 in credit card debt, most of it accrued in the last 18 months. I pulled out another document. The twins' college tuition is covered by federal loans and a 529 plan that was set up years ago. You're not drowning in tuition costs. You're drowning in bad financial decisions. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I pulled out the next document. This one I'd printed on official letterhead from the Social Security Administration website. Public data. All of it. You received survivor benefits from Dad's Social Security after he died. Those benefits were meant to support me until I turned 18. You continued receiving them for 1.5 years after you kicked me out. You never forwarded a single payment. You kept it. You spent it. Her hands were shaking now. That's not... I didn't... You did. The records are all here. Dates, amounts, deposits. It's all documented. She looked up at me, her eyes filling with tears. Rachel, I was trying to keep our family afloat. Derek wasn't making enough at the time. And the boys needed. The boys weren't your responsibility yet. I was. I was your daughter. And you stole from me to pay for a life that didn't include me. I didn't steal. You did. Legally, morally, every way that matters. You took money that was designated for my care and education, and you used it for your new family. She wiped her eyes. What do you want from me? I leaned back. I want you to stop pretending you're the victim. I want you to stop reaching out to me when you need something. I want you to delete that Facebook post where you made yourself sound like a heartbroken mother and me sound like a monster. And I want you to leave me alone. That's it? That's it? She stared at me. You put all this together just to... To tell me to leave you alone? No. I put this together so you'd understand what I'm capable of. So you'd know that if you ever come after me again, if you ever try to guilt me, manipulate me, or drag my name through the mud, I will make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Her face hardened. The tears stopped. You'd really do that? To your own mother? You're not my mother. You stopped being my mother the day you chose them over me. She stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. You know what? I tried. I really tried with you. But you're cold, Rachel. You always were. Even when you were little, you were so closed off. Your dad was the only one who could reach you, and when he died, you just shut down completely. I couldn't get through to you. Derek couldn't. Nobody could. So don't sit there and act like I'm the villain. You made it impossible to love you. I didn't react. I didn't flinch. I just looked at her. Are you done? She grabbed her purse. We're done. Don't contact me again. That was always the plan. She turned and walked out. I watched her go. I finished my coffee. I packed up my portfolio. And I went home. For a while, it was quiet again. No calls, no texts. The Facebook post disappeared. I checked. She'd deleted it. I figured that was the end of it. I'd made my point. She'd gotten the message. We'd go back to our separate lives, and that would be that. But I underestimated her. 2 weeks later, Ethan called me. He sounded upset. More than upset. He sounded betrayed. Rachel, what the hell did you say to my mom? I kept my voice calm. I told her to stop contacting me. Why? She's been crying for 2 weeks. She won't talk to anyone. Derek's pissed. He says you threatened them. He says you have some kind of file on them, like you're investigating them or something. I didn't threaten anyone. Then what did you do? I told her the truth. I showed her records that proved she lied to me about needing money. That's all. That's all. Rachel, she's my mom. You didn't have to destroy her like that. I didn't destroy her, Ethan. I just stopped letting her use me. She said you accused her of stealing from you. She did steal from me. Survivor benefits. Money that was supposed to go to me. She kept it. That was years ago. You're really going to hold that over her forever? I closed my eyes. Ethan, I don't expect you to understand. You weren't there. You don't know what it was like. I know your family, and family doesn't do this to each other. She kicked me out when I was 16. She was going through a hard time. She made mistakes, but she's still your mom. No, she's not. There was a long silence. I thought you were different, Ethan said finally. I thought you actually cared. But you were just... what? Gathering information? Using me? I never used you. Bullshit. You got close to me so you could dig up dirt on my parents. That's messed up, Rachel. That's not why I reached out to you. Then why did you? I didn't have a good answer. Or maybe I did, but I couldn't say it. Because the truth was complicated. I'd reached out because I wanted to see who he was. I wanted to know if he was like them. And he wasn't. He was just a kid trying to figure things out. But I'd also used what he told me. I had. And I couldn't pretend otherwise. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, I said. Yeah, me too. He hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. I felt something I hadn't expected. Guilt. Not about my mom. I didn't regret anything I'd said to her. But about Ethan. He didn't deserve to be collateral damage. But I also knew this was always going to happen. You can't burn a bridge without affecting the people standing on it. I put my phone down and went back to work. A week later, I got an email. Not from my mom, not from Derek, from a lawyer. The subject line read, "Cease and desist, harassment and defamation. I opened it. The letter was professionally written, full of legal language that was meant to sound intimidating. It accused me of harassing and threatening my mother and stepfather. It claimed I had unlawfully obtained private financial information and used it to intimidate and coerce them. It demanded that I cease all contact, destroy any records I had compiled, and refrain from making any defamatory statements about them in the future. It was signed by a lawyer named Kenneth Rothman, Esquire. I read it twice. Then I laughed. I pulled up Kenneth Rothman's website. He was a solo practitioner who specialized in family law, divorces, custody disputes, that kind of thing. He had a cheap website and stock photos of gavels. He was local, probably affordable, and definitely not experienced in forensic accounting or civil litigation. They'd hired him to scare me. It wasn't going to work. I forwarded the email to my firm's general counsel. Her name was Patricia, and she was one of the sharpest legal minds I'd ever worked with. She called me an hour later. "So," she said, "your family's suing you?" "They're threatening to." "For what?" "Harassment. Defamation, allegedly." "Did you harass or defame them?" "No. I compiled publicly available financial records and showed them to my mother in a private conversation. I didn't threaten her. I didn't distribute anything. I didn't post anything online. I just told her to leave me alone." "And the financial records. How did you obtain them?" "Public databases, property filings, tax records, court documents, social media. Nothing illegal. Nothing that required a subpoena or unauthorized access." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "Okay, so this is a nuisance letter. He's trying to scare you into backing off." "That's my read. Do you want to respond?" "I want to bury them." She laughed. "I like your energy. But let's be smart about this. I'll draft a response. We'll make it clear that you acted within your legal rights, that their claims have no merit, and that if they pursue this further, we'll countersue for frivolous litigation and legal fees. That should shut them up." "Do it." "Done. I'll have it to you by end of day." Patricia's response letter was beautiful. It was polite, professional, and absolutely brutal. It outlined every reason their claims were baseless. It cited case law. It pointed out that all the information I'd compiled was publicly available, and that sharing it in a private conversation was protected speech. It noted that filing a frivolous lawsuit could result in sanctions, legal fees, and counterclaims. It ended with a line I particularly loved. "Our client has no interest in further contact with your clients and requests that they honor that boundary. Any further baseless legal threats will be met with appropriate action." We sent it the next day. Kenneth Rothman never replied. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. But my mother wasn't done. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Connor. Not Ethan. Connor. The quiet one. The one I'd never really talked to. "Rachel?" His voice was hesitant. "It's Connor, Ethan's brother. I know who you are. What's going on?" I wanted to talk to you about everything that's been happening." "Okay. Can we meet? In person?" I hesitated. "Why?" "Because I think you deserve to know the truth. About my parents, about a lot of things." We met at a park near the university. Connor was taller than Ethan, quieter, more serious. He had the look of someone who'd been carrying something heavy for a long time. We sat on a bench. He didn't look at me at first. He just stared at the ground. "I know Ethan's mad at you," he said. "But he doesn't know everything." "What do you mean?" "About why Mom wanted you to help with tuition. It wasn't just about the money." I waited. "Derek's been planning to retire early," Connor said. "He wants to sell the house and move to Nevada or Arizona or somewhere cheap. He and Mom have been talking about it for over a year. But they can't do it yet because of us, because of college. So they've been trying to figure out how to offload the costs. Offload them onto me." "Yeah, Mom's idea. She said you were doing well, that you probably felt guilty about how things ended, and that if she played it right, you'd help out. She said it was only fair, because of the survivor benefits. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She told you about the survivor benefits? Not directly. I overheard them talking. Derek was mad about it. He said it was stupid to bring it up, that you'd figure it out. Mom said you wouldn't, that you were too emotional to think straight. I laughed. It came out bitter. She really doesn't know me at all. No, she doesn't. Connor finally looked at me. I'm sorry, Rachel. For all of it. I was a kid back then. I didn't understand what was happening. But I'm not a kid anymore. And I know what they did to you was wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because you're not the villain, and I don't want you to think you are. We talked for over an hour. Connor told me things I hadn't known. About how my mom had talked about me over the years, always with a mix of guilt and resentment. How she'd painted me as difficult and ungrateful to justify what she'd done. How Derek had encouraged it because it made his life easier. Connor also told me that he and Ethan had been fighting. That Ethan thought I was the problem, but Connor disagreed. That their home life had always been tense. Always about money and control and keeping up appearances. I don't want their money, Connor said. I'm going to finish my degree, and then I'm done. I'm not letting them hold anything over me. Good, I said. Ethan's different. He wants their approval. He always has. I don't think he'll ever see them clearly. That's his choice. Yeah, it is. We sat in silence for a while. Thank you for telling me this, I said finally. Thank you for not giving them what they wanted. After Connor left, I sat there alone, watching the sun set over the park. I thought about my mom, about how she'd planned this, how she'd calculated and strategized and tried to manipulate me into becoming her safety net. I thought about Derek, who'd spent years convincing her that I was the problem, that I was expendable, that their new family was the only one that mattered. And I thought about Ethan and Connor, 2 kids who didn't ask for any of this. I pulled out my phone. I opened my file, the one I'd been building for months, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this go. Not yet. Because my mother had made one critical mistake. She thought I'd roll over. She thought I'd feel guilty. She thought I'd pay up and fade into the background like a good, obedient daughter. She didn't understand that I wasn't that person anymore. I was the person who found the money people tried to hide. I was the person who built cases that held up in court. I was the person who didn't stop until the job was done. And I wasn't done. I started with the IRS. Derek's side consulting work, the network installation jobs he'd been doing under the table for the last 3 years, was unreported income. I knew because Connor had mentioned it in passing. Derek liked to brag about it, apparently. Cash jobs, he called them. No paper trail, no taxes. Except there was a paper trail. There always is. I found his clients through LinkedIn. Small businesses, mostly. Local offices that needed IT work. I pulled their business filings. I cross-referenced payment schedules. I found 3 companies that had paid Derek directly, outside of his regular employment for contract work. I documented everything. Dates, amounts, clients. I didn't have access to his bank records, but I didn't need them. The pattern was enough. I filed a Form 3949A, an information referral form with the IRS. It's a public form that anyone can submit if they suspect tax fraud. I included detailed notes, citations, and references to the clients who could verify the payments. I didn't sign my name. The form allows for anonymous tips. I submitted it online. Next, I looked into the timeshare. Timeshares are notorious for being financial traps. People buy them thinking they're investments, then realize they're locked into maintenance fees and contracts they can't escape. My mom and Derek's timeshare in Cabo was no different. I found the contract through public property records in Mexico. Timeshares are recorded like real estate. They'd bought it 2 years ago for $35. The annual maintenance fees were $400. They'd already missed 2 payments. I pulled up the timeshare company's website. They had a collections department. I called, pretending to be a prospective buyer researching the company. "Can you tell me about your collections process?" I asked. "I want to make sure I'm working with a reputable company." The representative was happy to explain. Delinquent accounts were sent to collections after 90 days. If unpaid, the company pursued legal action and reported to credit bureaus. "How many days delinquent would someone need to be before it hits their credit?" I asked. "Typically 120 days. My mom and Derek were at 95 days. I thanked the representative and hung up. Then I waited. While I waited, I did something else, something I hadn't planned on. I reached out to my Aunt Linda. "Hey," I said when she picked up. "Do you have a few minutes?" "For you? Always. What's going on?" "I wanted to ask you about Dad, about the life insurance." "What about it? How much was it? And who was the beneficiary?" Linda was quiet for a moment. "Your mom was the primary beneficiary. You were the secondary. The payout was $250,000. Why?" "Did she ever tell you what she did with it?" "She said she put it in savings, for your college, for emergencies." "Why, Rachel?" "Because she didn't. She used it to pay off the house. Then she refinanced and pulled the equity back out. Then she spent it." Linda swore under her breath. "Are you serious?" "I have the records. That money was supposed to be for you." "I know. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. But I wanted you to know the truth." Linda was quiet again. Then she said, "Your dad would be so proud of you. You know that, right?" I felt something catch in my throat. I swallowed it down. "Thanks, Linda. I mean it. You're twice the person she'll ever be." A month later, the dominoes started to fall. The IRS sent Derek a notice. I didn't know the details. I wasn't supposed to, but Connor mentioned it in a text. Derek's freaking out. Something about taxes. He's been on the phone with an accountant all day. I didn't respond. I just filed the information away. 2 weeks after that, the timeshare company filed a lien against my mom and Derek's property. It was public record. I checked the county recorder's office. There it was. A $7 $200 lien for unpaid maintenance fees and penalties. It wouldn't ruin them. But it would hurt. It would affect their credit. It would make refinancing harder. It would complicate their early retirement plan. And it would send a message. Actions have consequences. Then, something I didn't expect happened. Ethan called me. "Rachel." His voice was tight. "We need to talk." "I don't think we do. Derek's blaming you. He says you reported him to the IRS. He says you're trying to destroy our family." "I didn't destroy your family, Ethan. I just stopped letting them destroy me." "Did you report him?" I didn't answer. "Rachel, did you?" "Even if I did, it would only matter if he actually committed tax fraud. Did he?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I said. "You're unbelievable." "No, I'm just done being a doormat. This isn't over." "Yes, it is. For me, it is. You and Connor can do whatever you want, but I'm out. And I'm staying out." I hung up. I didn't hear from any of them after that. Not my mom, not Derek, not Ethan. Connor texted me once. "I don't blame you." I didn't respond, but I appreciated it. 6 months later, I ran into an old family friend at a coffee shop. She'd known my parents back when my dad was alive. She recognized me and came over to say hello. We chatted for a few minutes. Then she said, "I heard your mom and Derek are moving. To Arizona, I think. Something about downsizing." "Good for them," I said. "Are you in touch with them?" "No." She looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry." "It's fine. We're not close." She nodded and changed the subject. But after she left, I sat there staring at my coffee. They were leaving, selling the house, moving away. Good. I hoped they were happy. I hoped they built a life that didn't involve using people. But I also hoped they remembered me. I hoped every time they struggled with money, every time they had to make a hard choice, they thought about the daughter they threw away, the daughter who became someone they couldn't control, the daughter who made sure they learned what it felt like to be discarded. Life went back to normal after that, or at least my version of normal. I threw myself into work. I took on more cases, bigger cases. I became the person my colleagues came to when they needed someone who could find the needle in the haystack, the hidden account, the offshore trust, the paper company that existed only to launder money through 3 shell corporations. I was good at my job, better than good, and the reputation I'd built meant I could be selective. I only took cases that mattered. Divorces where one spouse was hiding assets, estate disputes where someone was embezzling from a trust, corporate fraud that hurt employees and shareholders. I liked the work. It felt clean, purposeful. Every case had a clear objective. Find the truth, document it, present it. There was no ambiguity, no emotional manipulation, just facts and numbers and evidence. It was the opposite of my relationship with my mother, and I was grateful for that. A year passed, then another. I bought a house, a small craftsman in Fremont with a backyard and a view of the canal. I adopted a dog, a rescue mutt named Pepper, who was equal parts anxious and loyal. I started dating someone, a software engineer named Michael, who worked for one of the big tech companies and didn't ask too many questions about my family. I built a life, a real one. Not the life my mother had imagined for me, and not the life I'd imagined for myself when I was 16 and sleeping on my aunt's air mattress. But it was mine, every piece of it, and that mattered. Connor graduated from college. He sent me an invitation to his ceremony. I was surprised. I hadn't heard from him in over a year. I didn't go, but I sent him a card with a check for $500 and a note. Congratulations, proud of you. Use this for whatever you need, no strings. He texted me a few days later. Thank you. That means a lot. I didn't hear from Ethan. I didn't expect to. 2.5 years after that meeting in the coffee shop, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was blank. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam. But something made me open it. It was from Derek. Rachel, I'm writing because your mother asked me to. She doesn't have your email and she's not sure you'd answer if she called. She's been diagnosed with early-stage ovarian cancer. The doctors caught it early and the prognosis is good, but she's going to need surgery and chemotherapy. She wanted you to know. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just passing along the information. If you want to reach out to her, you can. If you don't, that's your choice. Derek. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and went for a walk. I didn't respond to the email. Not that day, not that week. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what I should feel. Part of me felt nothing. A cold, rational part that said, she made her choices. You don't owe her anything. Not your time. Not your concern. Not your forgiveness. But another part of me, a smaller, quieter part, felt something else. Not guilt, exactly. Not sympathy. But awareness. The awareness that this woman, however flawed, however cruel, was still the person who'd given birth to me, who'd raised me for the first 13 years of my life, who'd been there when my dad died, even if she'd fallen apart afterward. I hated that part of myself. The part that still cared, even a little. The part that wanted to believe people could change, even when all the evidence said otherwise. I talked to Michael about it. We were sitting on my back porch, watching Pepper chase a squirrel she'd never catch. What do you think I should do? I asked. He shrugged. I don't know. What do you think you should do? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Do you want to see her? No. Then don't. But what if I regret it later? What if something happens and I didn't? Rachel. He turned to look at me. You don't owe her a deathbed reconciliation just because she got sick. Cancer doesn't erase what she did to you. It doesn't mean you have to forgive her or pretend everything's okay. If you want to see her because you need closure, that's one thing. But if you're only doing it because you feel obligated, don't. I nodded. You're right. I know I'm right. I'm always right. I smiled. Don't push it. But I kept thinking about it. Late at night. In the shower. During my commute. The email sat in my inbox like a stone I couldn't lift and couldn't ignore. Finally, a week later, I called Aunt Linda. I got an email from Derek, I said. About your mom? You know? She called me, asked me to tell you. I said I'd think about it. Did you? I thought about it for about 5 seconds. Then I told her to go to hell. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Linda. What? She kicks you out, treats you like garbage, comes crawling back when she wants money, and now she wants sympathy because she's sick? No. She doesn't get to do that. She has cancer. I know. And I'm sorry she's going through that. I really am. But it doesn't change what she did. And it doesn't mean you have to drop everything and play the dutiful daughter. I'm not planning to. Good. But, I don't know. Part of me wonders if I should at least reach out. Just to say, I don't know, something. Linda was quiet for a moment. You want my honest opinion? Always. If you reach out, she's going to take it as an opening. She's going to think you've forgiven her. She's going to think you're back in her life. And then, when she's better, and she probably will get better, if they caught it early, she's going to start asking for things again, because that's who she is. That's who she's always been. I know. So if you do this, do it for you, not for her. And make sure you're okay with whatever happens after. Okay. And Rachel? Yeah. You don't have to be the bigger person. You really don't. You've already survived her. You don't owe her anything else. I thought about Linda's words for another week. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to reach out, not directly. But I also wasn't going to pretend I didn't know. I drafted an email, short, neutral, detached. Derek, I received your message. I hope the treatment goes well and that she recovers fully. I won't be reaching out directly, but I wanted to acknowledge that I got your email. Rachel. I hit send before I could second guess myself. He responded 2 hours later. Understood. Thank you for responding. That was it. No guilt trip, no plea for me to reconsider. Just acknowledgement. I closed the email and didn't think about it again. 3 months later, Connor texted me. Hey, just wanted to let you know Mom finished her treatment. Surgery went well. Doctors say she's in remission. That's good, I replied. I'm glad she's okay. Yeah, me too. How are you doing? I'm good. Working in Seattle now, actually. Software company in South Lake Union. No kidding. We should grab coffee sometime. I'd like that. We met the following week. He looked good. Older. More settled. He'd grown a beard. He seemed lighter somehow. Like he'd put down something heavy. We talked about work. About the city. About Pepper. We didn't talk about his parents. Not until the end. They moved to Arizona, he said. Scottsdale. Smaller place. Derek retired early. Good for them. Ethan went with them. He's working for a marketing firm out there. Still lives at home. And you stayed here. Yeah, I'm done with all that. I talk to them once a month maybe, but I keep my distance. Smart. He looked at me. I don't blame you, for what you did. I know Ethan does, but I don't. I appreciate that. They made their choices. You made yours. Everybody's got to live with what they decided. Yeah, they do. We finished our coffee, hugged goodbye, promised to stay in touch, and this time, we actually did. Another year passed. Work stayed busy. Michael and I got engaged. We planned a small wedding, just close friends and family. Aunt Linda, a few colleagues, Michael's parents and sister. I didn't invite my mother. I didn't even consider it. Linda asked me once if I was sure. Completely sure, I said. No regrets? None. Good, because it's your day, and you get to decide who's there. The wedding was perfect, small and intimate, and exactly what I wanted. We got married at a park overlooking Puget Sound, with the mountains in the background and the water sparkling in the late afternoon sun. Pepper was the ring bearer, which was chaotic and adorable. Linda cried. Michael's mom cried. I didn't cry, but I felt something close to it, something warm and solid and real. Afterward, we had dinner at a small Italian restaurant we loved. 20 people, good food, terrible wine, lots of laughter. It felt right. At one point, I stepped outside to get some air. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I stood there, watching it, feeling the weight of the day settle into something quieter. Linda came out to join me. She handed me a glass of wine. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I'm good. You look happy. I am. She smiled. Your dad would have loved this. He would have loved Michael. I think so too. We stood there in silence for a while. Then Linda said, your mom called me last week. I looked at her. What? She saw something online. A picture from your engagement. Someone must have posted it. She wanted to know if I knew when the wedding was. What did you tell her? I told her it was none of her business. I smiled. Good. She cried. Said she couldn't believe you'd get married without telling her. Said it wasn't fair. Of course she did. I told her life's not fair, and that she'd know that better than anyone. I laughed. Linda. What? It's true. We went back inside. I didn't think about my mother for the rest of the night. Michael and I honeymooned in Portugal. 2 weeks of wandering through Lisbon, eating pastel de nata, drinking too much wine, and not thinking about work or family or anything that wasn't right in front of us. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in years. On our last night, we sat on a rooftop terrace watching the sunset over the Tagus River. Michael reached for my hand. You know what I love about you? He said. What? You don't need anyone's permission to be yourself. You just are. It's one of the first things I noticed about you. I squeezed his hand. I wasn't always like that. I know, but you are now, and I'm glad. Me too. When we got back to Seattle, I had 17 emails waiting for me. Most were work-related. One was from a former colleague asking for a reference. One was from Connor, congratulating me on the wedding. And one was from Ethan. I stared at it for a long time before I opened it. Rachel. I know we haven't talked in a long time, and I know things ended badly between us. But I wanted to reach out because I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I realized I owe you an apology. When everything went down with Mom and Derek, I didn't understand what you were going through. I didn't understand why you were so angry. I thought you were being cruel. But the older I get, the more I see things differently. Mom and Derek aren't perfect. I know that now, and I'm starting to understand what they did to you, how they treated you, how they used you. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I took their side. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. And I'm sorry. I heard you got married. Congratulations. I hope you're happy. Ethan. I read it twice. Then I closed the email and went to make dinner. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to. Ethan had said what he needed to say, and that was enough. Maybe one day I'd respond. Maybe I'd tell him I appreciated the apology, that I was glad he'd figured things out. But not today. Life continued. Michael and I settled into married life. I got promoted to senior director at my firm. We talked about buying a bigger house, maybe starting a family in a few years. Pepper got older and slower, and even more attached to me. I stayed in touch with Connor. We'd meet for coffee every few months, catch up on work and life. He was doing well, engaged to a woman named Sophie, planning a wedding of his own. He invited me. I went. It was a beautiful ceremony. His parents were there, of course. I saw them from across the room. My mother looked older, thinner. Derek looked the same, graying, tired, smaller somehow than I remembered. We didn't speak. We didn't even make eye contact, and that was fine. After the ceremony, Connor found me. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Of course. I'm happy for you. I know it was probably weird, with them here. It's your wedding. You get to invite who you want. Still, I appreciate it." Sophie joined us, and we talked for a while. She was kind and funny and clearly adored Connor. I was happy for him. He'd built a life that was his own, separate from his parents' drama. He'd figured it out. A few months later, I got another email from Derek. No subject line again. I almost deleted it. But I opened it. "Rachel, I'm writing to let you know that your mother had a recurrence. The cancer came back. It's stage 4 now. The doctors say there's not much they can do. She has maybe 6 months. She wanted me to tell you. She asked if you'd consider visiting. Just once. She says there are things she wants to say to you. I know you don't owe her anything, but I promised her I'd ask. Derek." I sat there, staring at the screen. Stage 4. 6 months. This was it. The end game. I thought about ignoring it, moving on, letting her die without giving her the closure she wanted. But something stopped me. Not guilt, not obligation, not even sympathy really. Curiosity. I wanted to know what she'd say. I wanted to hear what she thought was so important that she'd reach out one last time. And maybe, deep down, I wanted to see her one last time. Not for her sake, for mine. So I could look at her and know without question that I'd made the right choice, that I didn't owe her forgiveness, that I could walk away from her, finally, fully, without regret. I called Derek. He picked up on the second ring. "It's Rachel," I said. "Rachel, thank you for calling. I'll come, once. But I need you to understand something. I'm not coming to forgive her. I'm not coming to make peace. I'm coming because she asked, and because I want to hear what she has to say. That's it. I understand. When? She's at home. Hospice care. Whenever works for you. This weekend, Saturday afternoon. Okay, I'll let her know." I told Michael where I was going. He offered to come with me. I said no. "You sure?" he asked. "Yeah, this is something I need to do alone." "Okay, but call me if you need anything. I'll be 10 minutes away." "I will." Saturday came. I drove to Scottsdale. 3 hours of desert highway and too much time to think. Their house was small. A single-story ranch in a retirement community. Beige stucco, red tile roof, a cactus garden in front. It looked like every other house on the block. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a minute, gathering myself. Then I got out and knocked on the door. Derek answered. He looked older, grayer, tired. "Rachel," he said. "Thank you for coming. Where is she?" "In the living room. I'll give you two some privacy." He led me inside. The house was dark, quiet. It smelled like antiseptic and something else, something stale and sweet that I realized was illness. My mother was sitting in a recliner by the window. She was thin, shockingly thin. Her hair was gone. She wore a scarf over her head and a blanket over her lap. She looked up when I walked in. "Rachel." Her voice was hoarse, weak. "You came." I stood in the doorway. "I'm here. You have 10 minutes." She nodded. "Okay." I didn't sit down. I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting. She took a breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. "I know I hurt you," she continued. "I know I made mistakes. I was trying to do the best I could, but I didn't. I failed you, and I'm sorry." "Okay. Is that all you're going to say? What do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell me you forgive me." I smiled. It wasn't kind. "No." Her face crumpled. "Please, Rachel. I don't have much time. I just want to know that you..." "That I what? That I forgive you? That I understand? That I'll remember you fondly after you're gone?" "Yes." "No." "Why not?" "Because you don't deserve it." She started to cry. Quiet, shaking sobs. I watched her, feeling nothing. "You kicked me out when I was 16, I said. "You stole money that was meant for me. You replaced me with a new family and acted like I never existed. And then, when you needed something, you came back and tried to guilt me into giving it to you. You didn't apologize then. You didn't take responsibility. You just wanted what you wanted, like always." "I was scared," she said. "I was alone. I didn't know how to..." "You weren't alone. You had me, and you threw me away. I'm sorry. I know. But it doesn't change anything. Please, Rachel. I'm dying. I know. And I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am. But it doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't mean I have to forgive you. And it doesn't mean I'm going to lie to you and tell you everything's okay. Because it's not." She looked at me, her eyes red and swollen. "You're so cold. You made me this way. No, you were always like this. Even when you were little. You never needed anyone." I laughed. "I needed you, and you weren't there." I turned to leave. "Rachel, wait." I stopped. I didn't turn around. "I do love you," she said. "I know you don't believe me, but I do." I looked back at her. "You love the idea of me, the version of me that makes you feel like a good mother. But you don't love me. You never did." I walked out. Derek was standing in the hallway. "Rachel." "I'm done," I said. "Don't contact me again." I left. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad. I felt empty, but not in a bad way. Empty like a weight had been lifted, like I'd finally closed a door that had been open for too long. I called Michael. "How'd it go?" he asked. "It's over." "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Come home." "I'm on my way." My mother died 6 weeks later. Connor called to tell me. I thanked him. I didn't go to the funeral. Ethan sent me an email. He said he understood. He said he was sorry for everything. I didn't respond. A few months later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a law office in Scottsdale. Inside was a check for $5, $all and a note. "Ms. Harper, per the instructions in your mother's will, please find enclosed a bequest left to you. There was also a letter, which we have included." I opened the letter. It was handwritten. My mother's handwriting, shaky and uneven. "Rachel, I know this doesn't make up for anything. I know you probably don't want it, but I wanted you to have something. I wanted you to know that I thought about you, that I remembered you. I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you deserved. I hope you found happiness. I hope you've built a life you're proud of. I love you. Mom. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I put it in a drawer and deposited the check. I didn't cash it right away. I let it sit in my account for a few weeks. Then I donated it to a charity that helped displaced teenagers find housing and support. It felt right. Years passed. Life moved forward. Michael and I had a daughter. We named her after Aunt Linda, who cried when we told her. We bought a bigger house. I scaled back my hours at work. I focused on being present, on building something stable and good. Connor stayed in touch. We were friends, real friends. He and Sophie had kids. Our families got together a few times a year. It was nice. Ethan and I never reconnected, and that was okay. I thought about my mother sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. I thought about the choices she made, the life she built, the daughter she lost. And I thought about the life I'd built, the life she tried to take from me, the life I fought for and earned and made mine. I didn't forgive her. I never would. But I didn't hate her either. Not anymore. I just let her go. One night, when my daughter was 3, she asked me about my parents. "Where's your mommy?" she said. "She passed away," I said. "A long time ago." "Were you sad?" I thought about it. A little, but it was complicated. "What about your daddy?" "He passed away too, but I loved him very much. He was a good person." "Do you miss him?" "Every day." She hugged me. "I love you, Mommy." "I love you too, sweetheart." I don't tell her the whole story. Maybe I will one day when she's older, when she can understand that families are complicated, that love isn't always enough, that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. But I also tell her that you can survive it. You can build something better. You can choose who you want to be, and you don't owe anyone forgiveness. Not even your mother. It's been 8 years since my mother died. I'm 40 now. My daughter is in 2nd grade. Michael and I are talking about having another kid. Pepper passed away last year. Old age, peacefully in her sleep. We got a new dog, a golden retriever puppy my daughter named Sunny. I'm a partner at my firm now. I still do forensic accounting, but I also mentor younger associates. I teach them what I've learned. Follow the trail, document everything, and never underestimate what people will do when they think no one's watching. I'm good at my job. I'm good at my life, and I'm at peace. Not because I forgave my mother. Not because I let go of the anger or moved on in some tidy movie ending kind of way. But because I stopped letting her define me. I stopped waiting for an apology that meant something. I stopped hoping she'd see me clearly. I stopped giving her power over my story. I built my own story, brick by brick, choice by choice. And it's a good story. It's mine. Sometimes people ask me if I have regrets, if I wish I'd handled things differently, if I wish I'd given her a second chance. I don't. Because here's the truth. Not everyone deserves a second chance. Not everyone earns forgiveness. And you don't owe anyone access to your life just because they share your DNA. My mother made her choices. I made mine. She chose her new family. She chose comfort over accountability. She chose to see me as difficult, as cold, as expendable. I chose to survive. I chose to build something better. I chose myself. And I'd make that choice again, every time. So if you're reading this, if you're in a situation where someone is asking you to forgive them, to give them another chance, to put aside your hurt because family is family, I want you to know something. You don't have to. You don't have to forgive people who hurt you. You don't have to let toxic people stay in your life just because they're related to you. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to protect yourself. You're allowed to say no and mean it. And you're allowed to build a life that's yours. A life that's safe and stable and full of people who actually see you, who actually value you, who actually show up. It won't be easy. It won't be clean. There will be moments where you question yourself, where you wonder if you're being too harsh, too unforgiving, too cold. But you're not. You're just choosing yourself. And that's not cold. That's survival. My mother kicked me out when I was 16 because I didn't fit into her new family. She came back 12 years later because she heard I was successful. She wanted my money, my forgiveness, my validation. I gave her none of it. And I don't regret it. Not for a second. A lot of people have reached out asking what happened after. So here's the final word. Connor and I are still close. Our families see each other regularly. He's a good man, a good father, and he made peace with his past in his own way. Ethan and I haven't spoken in years. I heard through Connor that he's doing okay. Married, working, living his life. I wish him well. From a distance. Derek sold the house in Arizona and moved to Nevada. I have no idea what he's doing now, and I don't care. The twins turned out fine. They're not responsible for their parents' choices, and I never blame them for what happened. As for me, I'm exactly where I want to be. I have a family I chose, a career I built, a life I'm proud of, and I sleep well at night. Because I know I did the right thing. I chose me, and that's enough. Thank you for reading my story. I hope it helps someone out there who needs to hear it. You don't owe anyone forgiveness. You don't owe anyone access to your life, and you're allowed to walk away. Choose yourself. Always.